Man, let me tell you something that might, should I say this? I'm going to say it. That might piss some people off. You don't have a money problem. You have a you problem. Yeah, I said it. Because most people watching this, you think that if you had more money, your life will be good. Wrong. You think that if you had more followers, you'll finally feel successful. Wrong, right? You think that if you hit that next goal, you'll finally be able to breathe easy. Wrong. Because here's what nobody tells you. Money only magnifies who you already are. If you're insecure, more money, bigger insecurity. If you're empty inside, more followers, bigger emptiness. If you're living in chaos, more success, bigger chaos. I promise you this. So let me ask you this question. Are you ready? Like, are you really ready for the thing you're asking for? Are you building a version of yourself that can handle the weight, because it gets heavy, of the dreams you're chasing? Because the world will try to trick you into thinking it's all about the chase, the grind, the hustle, team no sleep, go get it 24/7, 365, the sacrifice. That's what you hear. But I'm going to tell you some truth. Can I tell you some truth? Can I keep it real with you? If you chase something too hard, you push it away. But if you become the person who naturally attracts it, it comes without force. How do I know? Because I'm living it. You don't need to fake it till you make it. Write this in the chat. You don't need to fake it till you make it. You need to align it until you attract it. Listen, I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm not a dream seller. I'm here to wake you up. So wake up. I'm here to wake you up. If you want real success, you better learn self-worth. That's why you need to take this assessment right here. Go take it ASAP, because you can't outperform the way you see yourself. I'm going to say this loud enough for the people in the back. You can't outperform the way you see yourself. That is major. You want big opportunities? You have to stop shrinking in the mirror. You want meaningful connections? You have to stop settling for people who drain you. You want lasting wealth? Is that what you want? Then listen, you have to stop living, this is going to sting, with a broke mindset, even if your bank account is full. Most people will never tell you this, but success isn't just all about strategies. It's about psychology. It's about the stories you tell yourself when no one is looking. So what you be telling yourself, right? You want breakthrough? You want a real breakthrough? You have to break up with the version of yourself that's kept you clinging on to playing small. But here's the reality. Money will come. I promise you this. Money wants to come, but it's like it's looking for the right home. It's looking for someone who can handle it, that will cherish it, that will multiply it, and that will use it with purpose. So since I'm being real with you, if you're not becoming that person, you know what you're doing? You're wasting your time. You're wasting your gifts. And just keeping it straight up with you, you're wasting your life. So what I'm going to do for you today, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm pulling back the curtain because I sat down with someone who has mastered this game, someone who's been in the trenches, someone who isn't just talking about theory, he's actually living it. My dog, Dean Graziosi. He's amassed tremendous wealth, but he's holistically wealthy. We're talking about the new rules of success. We're talking about what it really takes, and I want you to listen to me, to build a life of meaning, to build a life of impact, to build a life of abundance from the inside out. This episode ain't just some fluff. It's not just hype. It's real talk. It's mindset shifts. It's strategy. It's the conversation that you didn't know you needed, but won't be able to stop thinking about it once you hear this. So let's dive in, let's lock in, and let's change your life. Like I always tell you, it all starts with you. Let's get it. Dean, what up, brother? How you doing?
So good to be here.
Man, thank you for coming down, man. I'm going to say this, hope you don't mind me saying it, but taking a plane from Dallas to Denton, that's the first in history I've seen. So I appreciate you for doing it, man.
And it's so good to see your place. What a beautiful home you have.
Thank you, man. I want to dive right into this. And I want to, my audience is people who have dreams, obviously, or whoever's watching this podcast, they have dreams, but maybe they don't have the belief or self-worth. And one of the things that I know you've done very well, and me knowing you over these last, over a decade, able to turn setbacks, right, into greater comebacks. And I want to even talk about financially, though.
It's 2025. If you were an entrepreneur starting off, or just a human being in general, and to make $1 million this year, or to be more financially free, like what's the mindset behind that for somebody who might not have an example at home, or somebody who might not have a coach or a mentor? What would you tell that person?
Wow, so many answers come to my head. I'll try to bucket it a little bit. You know, first off, you have to protect your confidence. You talk about protecting your peace.
Yes.
So it's a similar model, but you got to protect your confidence because, listen, you remember when COVID, I mean, you and I have talked every year since the year we met, right?
Right.
You remember how things felt so uncertain when COVID came?
Yes.
They weren't sure where the world was going. Is it going to open up? Should it shut down? Should I mask? Not mask. Should I vaccine? Not vaccine. You felt crazy on either side, right? And it felt uncertain, and people weren't sure where the economy was going to go and all those things. But I feel there's a level of uncertainty now.
Yes.
That politics are polarizing. We don't know where the economy's going. We don't know where inflation is going. It's just a weird time. Like it's like a hangover after COVID, and now we're in this weird time, especially here in the States.
Right.
And when outside circumstances can be so loud, and you know this better than anyone, is I love the lens of protect your peace. I've loved it since the first day you told me. If I look at it through the lens of business, though, of doing your own thing, being financially secure, thriving in uncertain times, all those terms,
right,
you got to protect your confidence, because I believe when the outside world gets loud, it can make us play small without realizing it. And that's a time, in times like these, I think we have to work on the inner game more than ever. We can't let the chirping of the media come in. Depending on what side of the aisle you look at, both the world's going to hell in a handbasket, right?
Right.
So I think the first thing, say, what if right now you just shut off the news, shut off the outside noise, and said, there's no one coming to save us. There's no one coming. Doesn't matter if you like the last president, the current president, or the next president, no matter where you live in the world. No one's waving a magic wand. Nobody's paying off your bills. No one's making things good at home. No one's making you and your relationship better. No one's starting the business for you. Those things, it just doesn't, people get so tied up in what's going on in the outside world. But do you ever look through time? Why is there some people that protect their peace no matter what's going on in the world? Why is there some people protect their confidence no matter what's going on in the world? If you want to Google, if you look at the Fortune 500 top companies in America,
right,
if you Google right now, don't have to believe me, the majority of the top 500 companies in the country were started during a recession, a depression, or a downtime. And why I believe that is so many people aren't protecting their confidence. They're sitting on their hands and they're waiting to see how things go. And those that go, the heck with that, I am not waiting. I'm going all in. I'm going to find the mindset. I'm going to move forward. You have such an unfair advantage. So I truly believe, and then I'd love to share some other things that are more tactical.
For sure.
But I truly believe this is the greatest opportunity. Instead of being afraid of AI, AI can accelerate who you are. Instead of being afraid of all the turmoil and politics while everybody's sitting around waiting, you can attack and have an unfair advantage because you don't have much competition.
Right.
So I really think this is an incredible time. Over the next 3 to 5 years, I think people need to decide if they want to do their own thing or they want to scale into something else. I think this is it.
So that outside noise that you talk about, right? We can't control that. I always say most times in our life, we're trying to control things that are out of control. And that's why most self-worth is low. That's why most confidence is low, because everybody is allowing their internal to be.
And let me ask you, through the lens of self-worth,
yes,
right? I look at it through confidence. If your confidence, I'm not talking about, say there's a scale of 0 to 10 to confidence.
Right.
I'm not saying a 3. If ask you about sports.
Right.
If you went out and played a game, we're just talking about when you Baylor played Texas, right?
Right.
Amazing that first you scored a touchdown.
Yep, sure did. First play
of the game.
First play.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that, right? But let me ask you something. If you went and played a game, college or professional, and there's a scale of 1 to 10 of your confidence, and your confidence was a 7, do you have a good game at a 7?
Not too good.
Right? And you probably, like, I look at that in business and life. If your confidence is down a little bit, you play a little small, you hesitate, you watch the news a little more, you're waiting for the outside world, you're waiting for grandma, cousin, sister, wife, husband to say, I believe in you, you can do it, right? When your confidence is a 10, do you need anybody to tell you anything?
Absolutely
not. Like,
not.
get out of my way.
Yeah, give me the ball.
Give me the ball. Just
That's right.
Shh, give me the ball.
That's right.
Right? And I believe that's the thing we have to fight right now. We have to fight not letting the outside world tone us down, to dim our glow, to turn down our shine. I think that's first and foremost. Then I got some other fun things to share.
What do you think with the reps, right? Because I think about sports, or I think about speaking, and the outside noise got quieter the more I focused on myself and put in the reps, right? Because I became confident in what I do. So it's like, oh, okay, this person has an opinion, but that opinion is just an opinion. They have no idea of, what I'm capable of. And I think that's the problem that I'm seeing, at least on social media. It's we're allowing, I always say, unqualified people. Yeah. Maybe it's family members, maybe it's followers that follow us online to tell us what's meant for our life. So for you, like confident wise, do you do something every single day that, taps into your confidence, that makes you be like, you know what, I know I'm the man. I know I can't be stopped, to put yourself in that mindset?
Such a good question. It makes me think there's a book from Og Mandino called The World's Greatest Salesman. I quote it all the time. Just such a simple book, 2-hour read. And he's got 10 scrolls in there. It's The World's Greatest Salesman. It's really how to live a great life, right? And you read the whole thing in 2 hours. But long story short, the 4th or 5th scroll is about mindset.
Yeah.
And it says, instead of letting our emotions dictate our actions, what if we let our actions dictate our emotions?
Yes.
And here's what I know. When I'm moving, when I'm shaking, when I'm practicing, when I'm putting the reps in, I'm not thinking about all the outside world. Here's another one I want to share that's so important. Is when you're in a zone, when you know you want it. I'm going to back up a little bit, and then I'll get to that point. Is you asked me originally, what were some of the ingredients if somebody wanted to make $1 million or just start your own thing or just live a life that means something to you? Maybe it's $10,000 a month, maybe it's $100,000 a month, whatever it is, just a life that's fulfilling to you. Besides not letting the outside world control you, the next most important thing before you decide what industry, what you're going to do, is it the career you want, the business you want to ramp up or start? You have to have, and you know this more than anybody, you have to have a reason. So why? What did you say at UPW that I thought was so powerful? That your why, I think you called it purpose or something else, has to be bigger than your fear.
Oh yeah, yeah. When the reason is great enough, the fear will never be strong enough.
Right. So I think, even though this is overstated over and over, you got to have a big enough reason, because you will have self-doubt. You are going to want to fail. Your family is going to question you. That old imposter syndrome is going to come back. All those things are real, and they happen, and they've happened to every successful person. They're not born with less of it. I'm sure you still doubt yourself days, so do I.
1,000%.
Right? But you have to have a why and a reason so big that it moves you forward. It moves you forward even past statistics. So let me tell you, you made it to the profession, to the NFL.
Yeah, it's great.
If you were 10 years old, 14 years old, when you're hustling, doing your thing, if someone would have came to you with a very logical brain and said, Trent, I need you to sit down here. Let me show you the amount of kids that play in America who dream about the NFL. And even if you're the best in your high school and you're the best in your college, still the majority of them don't make it. If someone hits you with all those statistics and you didn't have a strong enough why, I'm sure you heard all them. I'm sure when you heard them,
all the time. Teachers all the time. Yeah.
1 year out there, Trent, you better do something that's realistic.
1,000%.
Right? Like, let me sit down and right.
You're
you're
a
smart boy, so let's get something on the back burner.
Have a plan B.
Have a plan B.
For sure.
But your reason was so big that you're in your head. What were you like? Screw plan B.
I didn't even. It was so normalized to me. I said greatness was so normalized because I was around it. I normalized the dream. My uncle, I was around Jerry Rice. He coached the Niners. He coached all these plays. So for me, it was normal. I just you have to work hard.
Such a good answer.
So normalizing greatness and even normalizing legendary, I do that with my kids now. I was like, yeah, it's hard work, but even somebody around you, right? They're around you enough, they're going to believe that it's possible. So when the teacher said that, I was like, I always just think, not me. You must be talking about another TrentShelton, not me.
So think about it. Think if your confidence is a 6 or a 7, not a 10, 6 or a 7, you don't have a big reason why. Playing in the NFL would be good. Maybe I'd live in a different area. Maybe I get to be on TV, compared to burn the boats, no matter what it takes. That would have hit you a little bit, and maybe you would have started looking for a plan B.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you would have had backup. Maybe you were like, well, most people don't. Then you start justifying, well, most people don't make the NFL. So if I don't, no big deal. You didn't have those voices in your head. And that same determination, and we can get to what kind of business, how, and all those things, but that same thing needs to be about this business you want to start or the money you want to make. It's got to be, there's no other option. I'm burning the boats. There has to be a reason so big. And most people, money is great, but really it's the byproduct. What can we do for our families? What can we do for the people we love? What can we do for future generations? Can we end a curse of not having money and struggle? Can we be the game changer in our family? Can we get back the time so we don't get to be 90 years old and realize we missed out on our family? I don't know what it is for you, but it so many times people want, and I can't wait to talk about great ways to make money or move, but people want the quick answer.
Yes.
But without the reasoning, without the why,
That's
without ramping up the inner confidence, without having a vision, a compelling future on where you want to go, then we just sometimes dream and hesitate, and then the first hiccup, we resort back to where we were, even though we don't like it.
Oh man, that's so good. And I really want people to understand what you just said, because I think, and I'm going to say this, but I think so many people are small-minded, and not because, they want to be, but
Well,
because
just the opposite of what you said. You're around Jerry Rice. But what about if you're around somebody that says, stop being a dreamer. We live in the wrong side of the tracks. We come from the wrong family. We didn't go to college. We don't have money. My dad told me all the time, we're blue collar. We're a blue collar family. My dad was one of 12. They all were blue collar construction workers or mowed lawns and worked on cars. My dad told me all the time, and I love my dad, but he's like, hey, we're blue collar guys.
Yeah.
We don't come from money. You need a college degree, Dean, but you're going to do good. And if you want to work on cars, you'll do good, right? It wasn't because he was trying to hurt his son.
Right.
He was trying to buffer my expectations,
right,
because that's not what my background was, right? So if you're thinking you had Jerry Rice, can I tell you how much, and you've watched it, right?
Yeah.
You and I met 12 years ago.
Right.
Right? I was blessed. I was doing pretty well when I first met you. And the first thing I said to you was, the world needs more Trent. After I watched your videos,
Right.
and I hope you felt that our whole entire
1,000%, man.
Anytime I could get you in front of a stage, in front of people, you just did Unleash the Power Within.
Yes.
The event where we met.
Yep.
Right? How freaking 30,000 people lost their mind. It was the best I've ever seen you. Right? But if you think about that, Tony was someone I admired and made an impact in my life. Now he's my best friend. He's my partner. We talk every night. We own multiple businesses together. Being around Tony, my life has quadrupled because the man just is intense. He goes after bigger goals. I thought I went after bigger goals. The guy has no fear. And it's like you being around Jerry Rice. My game is, my relationship with my wife is a 10 out of 10. I do the best I can to be an amazing father. My businesses have doubled and quadrupled. I've started new businesses because the man sets the bar so high, right? So, but the complete opposite is if sometimes people are surrounded by those trying to protect them, right? And they don't even realize that there's people in your life thinking they don't want to see you fail, but really they're putting a shadow over top of your dreams.
Can I ask you something real right now?
Yeah.
How do you handle, or let me first ask this, do you deal with it, the comparison? Because I know a lot of people, right? And I even struggle with this. Even me making it to the NFL and I'm around these guys that have been there, right? The Reggie Waynes, or even in business, I could be like, man, I'm not there yet, right? You're around a guy like Tony or just other entrepreneurs and mentors that you had. How do you not get to a place of comparison to make you feel like you're less? Because I know a lot of people watching this, they're afraid sometimes to go to the mentor that has more, or get around people who are greater.
What a great
because
question.
it's like, I want to get around here, but it's making me feel like I'm not doing enough. So how do you deal with that?
So good. Such a great question.
Thank you.
And I have to tell you, first off, probably because I'm in my 50s now.
Right. Like,
Time on this earth goes, like, you got to recognize patterns. Like, I'm going to avoid that guy that could show me so much because he'll make me feel bad about myself, right? Like, that voice, even just saying that out loud, I'm going to avoid a mentor who could condense decades into years for me. Allow me to go faster. Show me, no, don't go down that road, Dean. Been there. Tony does that to me all the time. No, even with my health, my life, my relationship. And go, no, that's the way to go, right? I've already mapped it. I already got lost going that way. Here's the map of the right way. So I'm going to avoid that because my ego might get hit, right? And it's a natural feeling. I get that. But how I've switched it in my head is I wouldn't be the man I am without people in my life like you, without Tony. Like and so many others. So I've had so many mentors, and mentors could be a book that I read, a podcast that I listened to. And instead of, and I know this sounds so, maybe today I'll just be a reminder service for you because I know you've heard this. Instead of, wow, look what he's got. The way and Tony knows this, I'm like, dude, if you could do it, I could do it.
Right.
Like I remember what he told me how much when I first met him, and Tony doesn't talk about money. The guy donates more than any human I've ever met. But we were talking back and forth, and I said, he told me indirectly on how much he had paid on income tax. And I just reversed engineered the money. And I remember how much he said he made the year I met him, which was 10 years prior. And I remember thinking, I got 10 years to get to that. And I did. I got to the number when he was 55. I made the same amount of money as he made when he was 55. And I'm like, I'm on track. But it gave me a lighthouse. It gave me something to shoot for. He was married to his wife, Sage. I had gone through a divorce. He was married to his wife, Sage, madly in love for 20 years. They still hold hands. They still flirt. I saw that. I'm like, damn, I could have that, right? So
Yes, sir.
I could look at it like, damn it, he's got money. He's got significance. He's got an amazing wife. Or I could say, damn, if he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
And it puts just a different frame on it. And then it allows you to be around greatness without feeling inferior.
That's so good, man. And I love to tell people too, like, with meanings and definitions, like what serves you, right? Yes, you can be, oh, I don't have this and that, but you can be, like you said, this is somebody who can expand me. This is somebody, even, I remember this, I don't know if you remember this, but it was a while ago, and it was speaking, and you were like, how much you're charging? And I told you how much I was charging. You were like, you need to charge more. And he was like, and you told me, like, such and such charges this. And I was like, man, I know I'm better than this person. You know what I mean? And it really expanded my mind to be like, man, stop playing small.
Did you charge more?
Absolutely. and the value was there. And I started to attract better clients. I started to attract better companies. And I knew my worth was there. And I realized with myself, for a lot of my life, I capped my self-worth. I capped how much I was worth. I think I was afraid to offend. I think I was afraid to think maybe even highly of myself. But when I threw that away and said, man, I've earned this, I'm worth this, I know the work that I put in and I know my talent, it's like my magnet, as I call it, was strengthened, and all these opportunities started to come. Relationships started to come, things I can't even explain. And so getting around people who expand you and push you. I just had a conversation with Tristan about this yesterday. I said, get around people who are better than you. If you're the best one, then you're not getting better. Get around people who are faster than you, who can challenge you, who make you feel like you're sorry.
It's easier to be a big fish in a little pond.
Exactly.
Right?
So,
and it gets comfortable.
For sure.
Right? It gets comfortable. I remember, do you remember when you told me the offer you got in your first book deal?
I did.
Remember what I told you? I'm like, you're not, absolutely not taking that.
I just got an offer for my next book, and it's so funny. My team, I was like, I ain't taking that. And it was a good offer. I was like, nah, they gotta come back. They gotta come back with something else. So I credit you, man, for a lot of just the confidence in business and myself of expanding for greater. So I want to just thank you publicly for that, man.
You're welcome, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure knowing you all these years, man.
I want to ask you this too, because I think I want to know this personally, but I know a lot of people listen to this episode. They have a lot, right? It's something called functional depression. I don't know if you heard of it, but basically it's being able to handle work, doing all the things, but there's still a disconnect inside. When I was, going through my hard season of March of 2021, I felt that I still had to show up, and I had all these expectations. So the question I want to ask you is, how do you deal with the expectations around you? When people expect you to do this, to provide, to operate at this level, you have a huge team, right? You have to always be who you are. How do you deal with that? And is that something you struggle with? Or do you have a process, protect your peace? Like, do you have a process that allows you to, be human in your greatness?
I appreciate it. It's a question I've never been asked. So I love when I get asked a question. I'm thinking through. Usually I have an answer right at the tip of my tongue. But I think I put, and maybe this isn't healthy, but I put my word first, right? I put my word first. So when I've been through a divorce, that you and I have talked about it before, and now I'm married to the love of my life. There are times where I can feel myself. I'm going to tell in a relationship, then I'm going to go to business.
Okay.
Right? I made a commitment to myself. When I went through a divorce, I remember on the opposite side, I was actually with Tony.
Yes.
And I wrote down all the things that I wanted if I was going to decide to go into a relationship. At the time, I was like, I'm just going to be super dad, wait till the kids get out of high school, and then I'll think about dating, right? But he made me, being a true brother, like things that you and I have worked on together. True brother, he's like, no, write down what is an absolute must in a relationship. And then he said, write down what is absolutely unacceptable. And I remember writing that down. When I got done, I was like, wow, that would be a pretty amazing woman. But fortunately for me, I looked at it and said, wow, you're pretty full of yourself. Like, if you want that woman, what kind of man do you need to become to attract her? Right? Because if I bring the same version of me to the next relationship, maybe the same thing would happen. It would unfold the same way it did. I had to become a different man. So the reason I thought about that is every day I work on being that man that deserves my wife, because that's the word I gave her. Like, I showed up when she met me, she met the perfect man. I didn't want to be the guy that after a lot of weight on our shoulders, or we all go through stuff. I went, not the stuff that you had to deal with, but like, I don't want to let her down. So if I stick to my word on the man I'm becoming, then when no one's watching, then I have to do the work. Because when they're watching, I want to be the man that they said. And it's the same for my team. Like, I feel fortunate that I could be done work forever. I'm good with my money. I've been in business for a long time. I'm older than, I've been doing this, been self-employed for 40 years, right? But I love what I do so much. And then when we started, Tony and I co-founded a company called Mastermind. I made a commitment of where we would be in 10 years. And I recommit to the team every single month on who we are, and they're all in on that. So I got to stick to my word. But there are days when they wouldn't know that it is brutal to show up, that stuff's going on in here that I'm still dealing with from when I was a kid, that I got to, and so then I need to find the way to do the work in the invisible. That's what the reason I love, you and I can connect immediately, or you connect with someone else that is working hard to get what they have. You already know all the conversations they had when no one's around. You already know they looked in the mirror 20 times and said, I should quit. Maybe this is enough. Maybe I should go get a job, or maybe I should stop playing. Maybe I should do what the teacher said.
That's right.
But then you still got up the next day and did it, right? So the next time I see him, I'm going to have a better word than share that I gave my word and commit to it. But it also goes back to what was in Ogmandino's book, is instead of letting your emotions dictate your actions, I got to do the action and let that create the emotions. But you still got to do the work in the invisible. We all do. How do you do it?
I love that, man. I give myself grace, too. But exactly what you said, I think giving my word, and sometimes I fall short, but not often, but giving my word, because I don't want to let people down. Like, I wrote in Protect Your Peace, like professional people pleaser. Like, I probably do that way too much, right? Yeah. But at the same time, there's a positive side of that, because the people I truly care about, people I love, my team and my family, I want to be a good example of them, and I want to show them. So oftentimes, I'm transparent. I always say your transparency leads to your transformation. So I say, hey, I'm dealing with this today, but I did yoga this morning, which I did this morning, or I did this. And so they get to see, oh, Trent goes through this, but this is how he gets through it. So it actually builds more confidence and trust. Exactly, that's the word.
He's not just saying life is perfect.
There you go.
He's dealing with this in the invisible too.
There you go.
When no one's there, when it's just you and mano a mano in the mirror.
But I love what you said too about even speaking it and, saying this is who I'm going to become. I teach this a lot. I always tell the story about when I said I would go to Africa and speak, and people thought I was crazy. And when I went out there, people asked me questions like, are you surprised that you're here? And I was like, no, I'm not. Because I always say my mom was in Africa before my body ever showed up. My mom was here, 6-7 years ago. Yeah, and I just had to close the gap from my reality to my vision by doing the habits, by doing the things, and end up becoming the greatest version of myself.
Do you know what the other thing, as parents, I've been in this industry for a long time, heading towards 30 years of, teaching people how to be successful and learning myself. But being a parent teaches you a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, talk about
fatherhood.
Fatherhood.
Oh, man.
Oh, my, I mean, and when I think about, when I tell my kids, my son will come to me and say, Dad, I'm going to do this. And when I'm not sure he's going to do it, and he makes a big promise, I stop him all the time. Like, hey, you don't have to promise me. The person you can't lie to, because if you get used to it, you'll do it all the time, is you. If you're saying you're going to do that, kiddo, like, he played baseball his whole life. And then he gets into high school, a little late. I wouldn't say, hopefully he doesn't hear this, but he hit puberty late.
Gotcha.
So he's on the baseball team, and, first baseman, Larry Fitzgerald's son's on first base at 6'1", 180. Andre Ethier, the center fielder for the Dodgers for 19 years, his son is pitching 85 miles an hour at 6'1". My son's like 4'11", right? Like, so I looked at him. Year one, he's on the team, and he got done with summer league in his high school. And he's like, Dad, I'm not fitting in here. Even if I make the team, he's like, I want to switch. And I promise I'm going to pick tennis, and I promise I'm going to practice 3 days a week. He's like, he picked tennis for some reason, out of the blue. I never played tennis, so I wasn't sure even why he picked it. And I remember at that point, he was making me all these promises. I said, kid, I told you, I'm never force you to play baseball. I just said always be in a sport because I like the competition, I like the teamwork, and all the things you learn from coaches and teams, and it's invaluable. Losing, the greatest thing that could happen is losing.
Absolutely.
And he made all these promises, and when I told him, I said, hey, don't make me these promises. You're old enough now. You're 14 at the time. I said, just don't lie to yourself because you get used to it. And you'll start saying, hey, I'm going to lose weight, but you don't. I'm going to stop eating sugar, and you don't. I'm going to stop drinking, and you don't. I'm going to start my own career, and you don't. You can lie. You lie to yourself enough. You don't believe crap you say, and then you'll never do anything because your word doesn't mean anything to you. And so I think the combo of the two is I gave my word to others, but I also gave the word to myself. So I don't want to lie to me. So some days, yeah, I'm there's been days where I don't feel like going out on stage because something's happening at home. And, when I went through a divorce ages ago, I still had to go out on stage, still had to show up. But I made that promise to others and made that promise to myself.
And you're the example. I mean, Brody, and your kids, you're the example. And I talk about that, not to get deep into parenthood or fatherhood, but I talk about that a lot to parents, and some people, it steps on their toes a little bit, but I was like, man, your kids can't find an example in you. So you're telling your kids to go for your dreams. You're telling your kids not to quit and give up, but they see you giving up every single day. And so I'll give you a perfect example. I'll be short with this. So Tristan, this had to be about 3-4 years ago. He's at school. It's, write down what you want to be when you grow up. So he wrote football player, right? The teacher comes to him and says, you should probably think of something else and you should try something else. So he's like, okay, I'm going to be a business owner. And he's like, he's a YouTuber. He's like, oh, you should probably think of something else. And then he just brushed it off. He came home and said, Dad, guess what the teacher said? I should think of something else. I said, how does that make you feel? He's like, it didn't even register. He's like, I got examples at home. My dad is a content creator. My dad made it to the league. And so I believe it's normalized because he finds the example in me. And even in my imperfections, though. Yeah. He sees the example in how I work through things. Our marriage, when we're having our little arguments, they see how we work through things, or our good times. And so I think being an example for your kids and even the people around you is the most important thing that you can do.
God, I love that. Yeah, where they say kids don't hear what you say, they do what you do.
There you go, 1,000%. I want to ask you this real quick, because I want to pivot just to some entrepreneur things, because I think I know you're the greatest in the world at this, and I'll stand by that. You talked about Brody, how he had to pivot and make a shift, right, from baseball to something else. There's people listening to this episode right now, our conversation, and they might be in a 9-to-5, right? They're in a career mindset. It's like, man, I've been at this 9-to-5 for all my life, 40, 30 years, but I'm looking at the internet. I know it's like the greatest time to get in entrepreneurship. How does a person switch that mindset? How do they flip that switch? How do they make that pivot to say, okay, this is what I used to do for so long, but I want to go try this. And what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What would you tell that person?
First off, there's a couple things I don't want to forget.
Yes.
I want to come back to just the greatest secret in the world is modeling proven practices. Right? That will change the game for everybody, because we weren't taught that in school, right? So I want to get back to that. But in a career mindset, here's only because I've been dealing with this transition for a long time, and I really took it to heart the last 5 years, of someone who works hard to get good grades, works hard to get into a college, and then talk about being excited to be accepted into a college. Then you're excited you get hired in a job. And I see so many people go to that career on fire. I'm going to get promotions. I'm going to get raises. I'm going to help make this company a better place. And a lot of time, the bureaucracy or the complexity of a company gobbles up those dreams. Every time you have a good idea, nobody's listening. You have a boss that's not really paying attention. The last 2 ideas you had, people shut you down, and you didn't even. And something over time, I think slowly, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but slowly you start saying, well, my ideas aren't worth anything here. I'll just do what I do. I'll get my raise every couple of years. I'll get my pay. I'll get my 401k, and I'm good. And I don't think you are good. Like if you are good, that's great. If you love what you do, awesome. Be the best at what you do. But if you know you're unfulfilled in what you're currently doing, but you're just putting in time, I just look at it at the end of my life. I just don't want to get there and be like, I missed it.
There you go.
I missed it. I mean, I know these are all cliches that people say, but really think about it. At the end of your life, are you going to be glad that you stayed in something that was quasi-comfortable and you didn't let the true inner Like you come out, your full potential, the one that like, I don't want to get to my end of my life and God say, yeah, well, how come you didn't step into your greatness, man?
He had all this for you.
I had all this for you. I did all these things, right? What would you say? It's like, can I go back? Can I get another shot? It's like, well, some of you, that wish is granted. You're here. You have the opportunity to take some uncomfortable action. So with that said, you have to realize that you had this desire. You had this passion. You had all the ingredients you need, maybe just years in a career, just boiled it down a little bit, numbed it a little bit. It's time to get disturbed. Like, that's what I think. I want to get disturbed with settling, right? And if you got to use the end of your life, use whatever it takes. You want to use example as your kid, like Trent said, your children, your husband, your wife. Use whatever it takes to move, like to get the momentum started. Then on the other side, and I'll go through it quick. First, find an industry that's growing. That's, you know, Tony and I love mastermind, teaching people how to create courses and workshops and masterminds and sell what you know, your life experience, right?
Right.
But find anything that's growing, right? Not to make it overly simple, is no matter how much thought you put into owning a taxi cab business, you're not going to do well because of Uber, right? And right now we're 3 to 5 years away where there'll be 0 Uber drivers. It's all going to be autonomous vehicles.
Right.
So you don't want to be in something no matter how much energy it's going down. So that's an easy one. Find an industry that's going to exponentially grow. And with AI and Google, you could do that. Number 2 is model proven practices. I wish someone would have just ingrained that into my life. Is every time we go to start something new, our brain goes, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to, and then you feel like, I got to figure this out. I have to do this. I have to be strong on my own. There is zero doubts that someone has already forged the path of anything you want to do. And when you can learn from somebody's mistake, like I get to learn from Tony and we get to learn from each other and all the things, is find the blueprint.
Right.
Like obsessively, cut a check for speed. Find somebody who's got the course,
So
the
smart.
book, the program, the mentorship, the coaching program, because it can literally collapse decades and it can avoid mistakes and can allow you to go faster. I always say, if you were going through the rainforest in Brazil and someone said on the other side, 40 miles away is paradise, and you could just run into the woods.
Yeah.
You could run into quicksand, run off a cliff, get bit by a spider, or just a little bit down to the right, there's a guy selling maps. And he's like, I've been through these woods for 20 years straight. I'll
There
tell
you
you the
go.
spiders to stay away, where you can eat. I got a great place to stay overnight. Avoid the quicksand. The map's $20. What do? You race it? Most of us race into the woods. You get bit by stuff, you fall over, you get in quicksand. What do? You climb back out the way you came and go, I'm never going back, because you tried it on your own, right? So get the map. That's number 1. So the right industry, first off, go all the way back, protect your confidence. Don't let the outside world affect you. Pick the right industry, model proven practices, and then you got to do what you got to have that why big enough that you
Right.
take uncomfortable action. Like, it really is uncomfortable to start. You got to try something new, but you got the map, and then you just got to keep moving forward.
I'm glad you said that, because number 1, it's funny because even if they go get bit, and then they still waste time, because then they might years later go to the guy that could have went to it first, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like,
that guy. I never want to get
should've
bit
came-
again.
And that's something that you taught me that that really helped me, is just asking more, right?
Yeah.
Getting around people and asking for help and doing this, because I struggled with that for a while. Like, oh, I got it. But now I'm like, oh, I'm not trying to like figure this out by myself. I know somebody that I could literally call or cut a check for, or whatever it may be, and that's tremendously saved me a lot of stress and a lot of time. You know, so thank you for sharing that. I want to pivot real quick, because I want to talk about something very, very important. I've been a part of a lot of your events.
Yeah, so
I
many.
think we had one that was like maybe the biggest in history online,
Well,
right?
It is still the biggest.
It's still the
2.5
biggest.
million people showed up. to one.
Yes. And it's always incredible. I mean, the knowledge.
It is fun. You're the first person I invite always, and I never make you feel pressured. I'm like,
Thank you.
That spot is yours. When we did the event with Matthew McConaughey, I'm like, we only had 2 guests. I'm like, that spot's yours if you want it. And that was an amazing day.
And it's easy yes for me, because I get so much knowledge from. Like, man, I get to be here and I actually get all this knowledge. So your events are amazing. You have an event coming up.
I do.
Thrive, right?
Thrive in 2025.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's happening on May 15th. Be three days, about 3 hours a day, and it's for exactly what we're talking about. You know, we have it's Tony Robbins and I own the company. It's him and I going live. We have some great guests coming. Matthew McConaughey's coming.
Yes.
We haven't done an event with him since we did.
Wow.
So he's coming back. Our friend Jay Shetty's coming.
Yes.
And some other great guests. But really, the whole 3 days is to show people that you are enough, that you know enough, that with the right blueprint, You could do anything. And it's not about how to get rich for doing nothing. What we're going to show over 3 days is day one is you are enough, you know enough, you could do this. And also why I believe, Tony believes, that everybody should be in the business you and I are both in.
Yes.
Everybody has a life experience, a career skill, a passion that someone else is starting off on day one. And I know that might seem odd if you've never, but you're watching online. You're watching people create courses. You're watching people do workshops, write books, do masterminds, do events, do meetup groups, do communities. There is a process. Tony and I have been doing it for 74 years. That's why we do the biggest events in the world. I mean, our last one had 875,000, and you spoke at that one.
Yes.
And in over 120 countries. And we allow people to realize, wow, if you want to do your own thing, there's lots of things you could do. But why not realize that you are the asset? The experience you went through is insanely valuable to someone else. I always ask people, I'm like, if I could put $1 million in your bank account, or I could send you back to spend a week with your 20-year-old self, what would you choose? I hardly ever anybody say the $1 million. Everybody's like, let me go back.
Yeah.
So that means your knowledge, your life experience is valuable. We teach you on day one how to identify what that value is and go, wow, I actually am good at that. I did get through that divorce with love. I did learn how to sell better, or my career. I am a great accountant, or I do have a passion for fly fishing. There's somebody starting off day one wanting to learn how to fly fish, right? So day one, we teach people how to identify what it is and how you would deliver it. Day two, we teach people how to, now, like I picture the end of day one, people showed up going, what is this? And then end of day one, like, well, damn, I got something good.
Yeah.
And then in their head, like, but how would I turn it into a business? That's day two.
Gotcha.
We teach people how to market through service and how to put it out there in the world and how to use networks and how to use social media and how to use AI and technology to work for you, not against you. And then day three, we teach you how to make it a real business. And yeah, it's you've been there through all of it. It's turned into a movement. Mastermind has got people all over the world in every profession possible selling what they know.
And this is free, right?
It's free.
So
Totally
thrive400.com is the website they can go to.
Thrive400.com. It's not kind of free. We only do it once a year like this. It's the only time it's free. And it really, I promise you'll leave there. Listen, we'd love for you to work with Tony and I and go all in. But I promise no matter what you want to do in life, you can't leave Tony Robbins, myself, Trent. I mean, you've been at so many of them.
Right.
We're saving you for the next event now. But yeah, it's a pretty special event, and I'm excited. If you're still listening to this, you need to be there.
Why is it right now the time to be an entrepreneur founder, like to go all in? If you had to just say a few sentences to that. Like, I'm a guy right here that's on the edge,
Yeah.
Just talk to me about that. Like, I want to do it. Why is right now the perfect time?
First off, because a lot of people are sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
Number two, this is not a time to sit on your hands. This is a time to realize that instead of being afraid of AI, done right, it could be a compounder and accelerator. We're right now, people that used to need 20, 30 employees, we're less than a year away from AI to be able to replace a lot of that. So two things. One, the career you have that you think is stable might not be. They're saying up to 41% of jobs by the end of the year have a chance of being lost to AI. By the end of the year. Right? Wow. So first off, AI can take your job, or you can use it as fuel, and no one could ever take anything away from you once you understand it, right? I heard someone say, AI won't take your job. Somebody who knows how to use it will.
Right? That's true.
So Tony and I are going to share some AI that we've been working on. And listen, I'm 56 years old. I like technology is not something. I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand. I like simplicity on the other side of complexity, right? I want easy. And we got some easy things to show people how to really accelerate. And when it boils down to it, how cool would it be if you had the opportunity to do something that gave you purpose in your life, impacted others, and had no glass ceiling? Like, it almost seems like too good to be true. So I'm not saying you're going to get rich overnight, but I am saying we'll share with you the blueprint and the game plan on how to do something. I mean, I love what I get to do. I know you do too. We change lives for a living. Even though I never thought I had any. I worked in a collision shop as a kid. I did my first apartment deal when I was 19, hustling with no money down. Whoever thought that I could? My first thing was teaching people how to get in their first real estate deal like I did.
Right.
And it turned into a multi-million-dollar company, right? So now we just want to, and Tony went to a Jim Rohn event when he was 17, and then he started it. So now we just give people the path. We give them the technology to make it easy, and we show them the blueprint and how to do it. And And fortunately, we get hundreds of thousands of people that we get to impact around the world.
Guys, go sign up, be there. I can't stress that enough because I know the value. And a lot of people say, I don't have help, or I don't have this. Here you go. Okay, thrive400.com. Dean, we got 2 more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
And these are deep questions. I ask every guest these questions, and there's no right or wrong answer, but I know your heart, so I know you're gonna bring a lot of value to this. First question is, what's your definition of self-worth? You know, that's the thing that I teach on, the thing that I built the foundation of rehab time on, because I feel like there's an epidemic of fractured self-worth. People don't really believe in themselves. So what would you say your definition of self-worth is? And what does self-worth mean to you?
Wow, self-worth, you know, that surely changes over the decades.
For sure.
You know, in my 20s, you know, watching my mom had 3 jobs to make about $90 a week as a kid, and all I wanted to do was make money so I could retire my mom. So I would say my 20s, the complete self-worth was wrapped around money. Like, not because I wanted the Lambo or the Ferrari and the fancy. I retired my mom when I was 25, my dad when I was 27. Wow. And that was everything. Like, I wanted to get wealthy. And then once I did, there was other things. But that was, so I would say if I wasn't figuring out how to make money, I wouldn't have felt worthy. I would have felt like I let my parents down, like I was leaving next generation to be like the next generation to be the next generation. So, you know, it's so funny. Self-worth is such a part of you that I've never asked myself that question. So great question. So I would say that was in my 20s. And my self-worth now, I was trying to think, what does self-worth mean to me right this very minute? And I don't know if it's the right answer, but the answer that came to me was being a man of my word, especially to my wife. And there was something I wasn't the perfect man in past relationships. I'll be completely transparent. You and I have had these conversations. Yes. And then I wrote down all these things I wanted in a relationship. I'm like, pretty full of yourself.
Right.
You better show up as a different man. And there's something I said to myself, and I told my wife later on, but this is the promise I made to myself. Because when people talk about self-worth, and maybe this is not the best definition, or your self-values, like what are your real values? I'm like, but how do I give myself like a checkpoint? Like, how do I know I'm staying in my values? So I made a promise to myself. I said, if my wife hired a private investigator to video me for a whole week and I didn't know it, and she watched the video, she'd love me more.
Wow.
And I try to live every day by that. Like, my self-worth now is my wife could be filming me anywhere, nothing on my phone. I've given her every password I have, like everything I do. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, but that's how I determine my value, my self-worth at this phase. Of course, I want to be a great partner to Tony. I want to be great friends to people like you. You've been such a dear friend for so long. I hope I'm always there for you in anything you need. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good father. I want my businesses to thrive. I want my employees to do better working for me than anybody else. So my self-worth is attached to all of those. But I would bet to say being a man of my word is probably the greatest one I have at this phase of my life.
Well, that's it. Because what I know about self-worth is true. It's an inside job, right?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It comes from within. And most times people's self-worth is tied to things outside of them, right? It's like, how do they feel about me? Or if it is money, right? All these things is like, or, you know, I had a conversation dinner 2 nights ago with a guy that's in a tough time in his life because all his self-worth was tied to things that were outside of him. Wow. And that's what I'm seeing. So I'm glad you shared that, because when you go internal, self-worth is not something that you earn. It's given. Wow. Right? It's given to you, and it's inside of you. So I love that. Second question. This one, it's like that one. You know, it's a question that, you know, there's no right or wrong answer, but kind of give you, they know this on the podcast, so I won't get too into this story, but when I was doing you came to the event, my Know Your Worth tour, when I was doing all the tours, right? Yeah. So with VIP, I would ask them a question. We did, 32 cities throughout the country. So it was probably maybe 100 VIPs or so. And I asked him this question. I said, let me give you a backstory. Most people in my inbox are always saying, I'm not enough. I would say that's the root issue of everything. I'm not enough for them. I'm not enough for this. And so one day I asked somebody, I said, well, what's enough? And they didn't know. So I'm saying, okay, well, you're chasing something that don't even exist to you. So I asked this question to 100 VIP. What's your definition of enough? Nobody knew. Maybe 1 or 2. So I want to ask you that question. What's your definition of enough for Dean Graziosi?
Can I read something I sent to my son today?
1,000%.
I'm going to read you something. Literally, no one in the world knows this. This was my message to my son because I couldn't be there for his tennis tournament today. Because I was coming, I had to speak at an event and I had to leave. I said, good morning, kiddo. I hope you had a fun night last night. Have so much fun at your tournament today. You've worked hard to earn that spot. Try to put a smile on your face through all of it. And remember this, winning is not the score at the end of the match. Winning is knowing that at the end of the game, you gave it all. You left it on the court, everything. You went hard. You dug deep and gave it all you got. If you can do that at the end of the game, you won today. And I know you win. I love you. Go get it. That was the message I left my son this morning at 4:30 a.m. when I was heading to the plane. That's where I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied. I just want you to know.
Right.
I'm not. I feel blessed that I flew here on my plane. I have everything I ever once dreamed about coming from a trailer park, making, going to school without lunch money. I have far surpassed anything, and I'm beyond grateful, and I try to give back as much as I can in everywhere I can. But I'm not satisfied. I know there's a better version of me. There's a better man. There's a better friend. There's a better marketer. There's a better businessman. There's a better person to my family who came with me today. So my definition of enough, there is no enough. Enough is being a better version of myself today than I was last week. That's it.
I gotta clap for that. Is everybody want to clap for that? Gosh. Hey, that's it, man. Again, it's an inside job. A lot of times we think is enough is something outside of us.
Yeah.
And that's my definition too, is being the greatest version of myself every single day. And that's enough. Dean, man, thank you. As always though, like anything you want to say to close, there's a camera right there. A lot of people might be watching, might be going through something in their life, or might be in a place of they need a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
What would you tell the person on the other side of the screen that just needs some inspiration right now?
Yeah, not to repeat what I've already said, and this man has fed into you so elegantly, is you truly are enough. Yeah. You truly know enough. And you could truly live into that version of yourself that maybe you thought was what's a dream. And I would just say, get uncomfortable with leaving it the way it is. Gain skills from people who've already been there. And take some uncomfortable action, 1 foot at a time. You don't have to quit what you're doing and jump. Just start the process. Get momentum. Surround yourself with people who breathe life into you, even if it's podcasts and videos, because I know sometimes it can be hard when you have people around you questioning you. And I would just say, it's unbelievable what can happen when you tap into your full potential.
Dean Graziosi. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Guys, make sure you follow Dean everywhere at Dean Graziosi, right? Yep. All social media sites. Make sure you go register. Thrive400.com. Thrive 2025 is going to be amazing. It's going to change your life. Take ownership over your life. I always say you can be a watcher, wisher, or worker, right? Go work on being the best you. Share this with somebody who needs it, 1 person or 10 people, but make sure you share this because, man, inspiration, motivational, impactful. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. As always, it all starts with you. It's rehab time. Let's get it. Talk to you soon.